Good afternoon. Welcome to Local Connections with Local Umbrella Media. I'm Brad Weber, publisher of the local Umbrella Media group of newspapers here in San Diego and the other media things that we do for folks. We have a very special guest today. Um, One of the things about Local Connections is introducing you to people that you may not have heard about, but you should have heard about. And Miss Raechel Kadoya from Soichi Sushi in Normal Heights, University Heights area. Welcome.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you today. So I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about our background and how we met, and then we'll get deeper into your story. First of all, I'm going to give a little plug. The Solana Beach Chamber of Commerce, who I'm a big fan of and I'm a member, they're doing Fiesta del Sol May 21st and 22nd. It's an amazing event. It hasn't been, because of COVID, like lots of other things, it's been dark for a couple of years, but it's back this year. I highly suggest you check it out if you haven't before. I used to go all the time when I lived up there. I'm going this year. It's a great event, and we just had an event last night at the Lomas. What's this say?
The Lomas brand.
The Lomas brand. I've got that wrong before, but amazing people. Sean and Fatima, who own it, they're all about local people up there in Solana Beach. It's such a beautiful setting, and they are just wonderful people, so inviting. But anyway, go to Fiesta del Sol May 21st and 22nd. Now back to the subject at hand. Soichi Sushi. We met. My office happens to be right above your location on Adams Avenue. And we met when you were moving in and moving furniture in and stuff, and it had such a good story. But you've been there 3 years as of Wednesday, correct?
Yes, so we just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary on April 20th.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing sushi. An amazing experience too. There's lots of sushi bars and sushi restaurants in San Diego and everywhere else you go, but this is a unique experience. I'll let you tell the details, but tell me a little bit about your background. How you started it. Your husband Soichi is the chef and the master behind the actual preparation of the food and sourcing the food and everything else. So I'm going to shut up and let you tell us a little bit about Soichi.
Yeah, Soichi is from Yokosuka, Japan. We met there in Japan about 25 years ago, I'd say. And I was there because my dad was in the Navy and we got stationed over there. So I was about 19 when we were stationed in Japan. And in order to stay with your family, if you're over 18, you have to be a full-time college student. So we landed there, and the term for the college on base was going to be starting the very next day. So I had to hurry up and make up in my mind on what I was going to be studying. And I thought, well, I'm in Japan, I might as well just study Japanese. So
makes sense.
That's what started all of that. And I ended up getting a degree in Japanese studies by the time my family was stationed back to the United States. And I had a part-time job teaching English over there. And so I decided to stay in Japan on my own. And shortly after that, after my family left and I had my own apartment, I started going out to the bars.
Well, why not?
At Freedom. So Soichi was a bartender in one of the bars that were right outside the Navy base in this street. It's called Dobita Dori, which is the Japanese name of that, and the locals call it the Haunch. So if you walk right outside the base gate and cross the street, you're in the Haunch, and it's just tons of bars. Just a lot of bars there, and all the Navy
And what
guys.
town was this in? Did you say
Yokosuka?
Yokosuka. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a big Navy town. So a lot of people from San Diego would know Yokosuka because almost everybody from San Diego passes through Yokosuka in Japan.
Great.
If you're in the Navy. So, yeah. So, you want to hear the story of how we met?
Well,
It's
sure.
kind of
The more the
cheesy.
merrier.
It's kind of cheesy.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. So
like cheesy.
I was going with the secretary of my English school. She had a date with an American guy, and she's a young Japanese girl, and she was afraid to go by herself. So she dragged me along with her to her to be the third wheel.
Woman,
yeah. And so it just so happened that the guy was Soichi's roommate at the time, who they were backpackers. They went to India and Thailand and stuff together. So he took us to that bar. That bar was called Sundance. It was kind of like a speakeasy. Not a lot of Americans went in there because during the daytime it was a vintage clothing store, and you would during at night when they would close the vintage clothing store, they would, pull the shutter down, and only the people that knew about this place knew to open the shutter, go through. You'd have to like walk sideways through all the clothes, that they had from outside. They brought it inside, and then go behind the register, and then there would be another like wooden door.
Wow.
This place Soichi built with his friends. He wasn't the owner, but they were just all friends, and they built this really cool place. And you go in there, and it's all like wood paneling. It's all wood.
Yeah.
And High Times magazine, the owner had like this High Times magazine in plastic. He was collecting them. He had them. And he had this from the ceiling. There was this hammock with all these like Grateful Dead bears. And so I was like, okay, it felt very American feeling, hippie kind of feeling. So I felt like I fit right in there at the time. And so I went up and I asked, he asked me what I wanted to drink. And I said, I was a brand new drinker at the time. I didn't know what I wanted. And so I said, I don't know, can you make me something, special? Just make something up.
Perfect.
And he said, well, what do you like? And I said, I'm Mexican. I like tequila. So he's like, okay, so what kind of taste do you like? And I said, oh, I like kind of sweet and sour kind of things. And so he comes back with this drink, and and then I try it, and I was like, wow, I really like this drink. What's the name of it? And then he says like, well, what's your name?
And then I said, my name's
Raechel. And he's like, well, it's the Raechel special.
Oh, nice. He's smooth Soichi.
That became like the biggest selling drink in that bar.
Really?
Yeah. Soon after that, there were people coming in, just ordering the Raechel special. And we're like, who's this? And it's partly my fault, because when I would always walk around and like, hey, you want to try this? It's the Raechel special.
That's
so
funny.
I would like make everybody try it.
So you don't serve that at the restaurant?
No, we just have
only at home.
Yeah,
I'll get the recipe from you sometime.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
It was my favorite drink. But yeah, so soon after, let's see, we ended up being really good friends. Soichi was a musician, so I just liked everything about him. In the bar, he was the DJ. He had a record player. He made the food. He made the drinks. And then afterwards, he'd pull out his guitar and just play for everybody.
I was just at Soichi the other night and brought some friends there, and they raved about the food and the experience. And
he busted out
came
the guitar.
Out at the end and busted out the guitar a little bit. I guess I didn't know that, but I kind of forgot. I wasn't expecting that. So that's another cool little bit you're gonna get at Soichi.
Yeah, he's actually kind of well known in Japan, in Yokohama, Tokyo, Yokosuka area, Hayama area, Kamakura, that kind of area. He's got a few albums out.
Really?
And the name of his band is Munchie Vibes.
Munchie Vibes.
Yeah, you can probably look him up on YouTube or get the music on Spotify and all that.
Okay, Munchie Vibes. Look it up, everyone.
Yeah, Munchie Vibes. And he's a songwriter. He's composer. Guitar. He's one of those people that he can play anything.
Wow.
So he's
just one of those artists that it just comes to. He's got it.
Got it. And he's always done construction also. He's just like a jack of all trades.
I've seen him work in the restaurant, and he's still out there working on it. I go by every now and
all
then.
The time.
So anyway, so eventually you came to the U.S., but there's an interesting story about the hopefully I'm not jumping too far ahead, but the big nuclear disaster they had years ago affected the fish. Tell us, kind of go into that a little bit.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy time. So we got married in 99. We moved back to the United States, decided to move back to Japan and raise our kids over there. And so we were raising the kids there in Yokosuka. They were going to Japanese school and everything was great. And then Fukushima happened, the big 9.0 earthquake. Right. Hit. Then like 45 minutes later, there was this big tsunami. It was one of the scariest times I think I've ever had in my life.
I can imagine.
Yeah, when it all happened, I wasn't with my kids. They were just getting out of school, and then the school sent everybody home, like in groups. But my kids didn't ever make it home. One of the other parents knew that I or maybe they went home and I wasn't there, and I was actually out like driving around looking for them, going back and forth to the school. But
how old were you kids at the time?
So I have my oldest at the time was in this. She was in the 6th grade.
Wow.
and Amane was 4th grade, and then my youngest was kindergarten.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah,
What an
and so
experience. It's
the
something
2
you'll never
older
forget.
ones, yeah, it was crazy. I just was, knocking on doors, because somebody, I just asked people on the street, like, where, have you seen the kids? Do you know where the kids from the school went? They were with this group, and one mom said, I think your kids went with so and so's mom, and I was like, who's that? And
Wow.
where does she live? And so I just was like knocking on doors, and finally knocked on the right one, and my kids were there
Wow,
too.
what
My
a
kids,
feeling.
yeah, it
You
was
won't forget
crazy.
that.
Yeah. Because it wasn't really near my house either. I
Yeah.
think somebody might have like said she lives in that direction, or pointed me in the direction.
What did the kids do to get to that house? Was it someone they knew or?
Yeah, a classmate, but I guess when the earthquake and the tsunami sirens started going and stuff, they had just gotten out of school, and the school had them go home in groups.
Wow.
And so they were in this group, and when they got home, they saw that I wasn't there, and so
Right.
one of the moms just
Wow.
decided to take them
Wow, what
with
a
her.
feeling. So, and what
Yeah.
year was this? I mean, I remember
2011. That was
2011.
March
Wow.
11th. Yeah,
11 years ago.
2011. And
Okay.
then soon after that, just like later that day, the Fukushima reactor exploded.
Right.
And that just started this whole new journey for me. I was trying to figure out what it was like to, or how to live with radiation, because it was, well, first we were told that it wasn't a nuclear
Right.
an explosion, that it was just a hydrogen explosion, which I didn't know what that meant at all. And then we evacuated to Okinawa. The kids and I evacuated to Okinawa for a couple of weeks, and we went on a ferry, and it took us about 3 days to get there, because there was no gas there. Everything was out.
Yeah.
There was nothing. And then but we were able to get to the ferry and get on that, and Soichi decided to stay back so that he could he wanted to support his country. Like they didn't want the economy, like if everybody evacuated, then the economy was gonna break down or whatever. And so he decided that him and his coworkers
stick at home no matter what, like we're seeing in Ukraine right now. You stick it out. It's our home. We're gonna fight to the death almost.
So the girls and I left, and then after a couple of weeks, I guess there Japan, the government and the media and everything was saying that it wasn't bad at all, and there was no radiation and everything, and everybody come on back kind of thing. And so my husband was listening to that information. Meanwhile, I was listening to international information. They were like, no, this is a nuclear explosion. Like you should be, not going, don't let your kids play outside in the dirt. And, the wind is blowing this way. And I started watching the camera at the Fukushima reactors, to see which way the wind was blowing. You could actually see the steam coming out of it, because it was like Swiss cheese. The reactors were like Swiss cheese at that time. But you could see it, and you could see the wind, how it was blowing. And there were days where I just didn't let my kids go to school. Wow. It was just really stressful. There were things we couldn't eat. This food was being recalled left and right, but yet that they were saying there was nothing wrong. And I'm like, well, why are they recalling the mushrooms? And, why is the green tea being recalled? And so I ended up with a few Geiger counters. Getting my birthday that year, my friends got me a Geiger counter.
What a birthday present. Gosh, something's up.
Yeah. Wow. So I just started, checking the dirt at the schools. And then that kind of became a thing that I was doing. I checked the dirt at my house, and I ran into a couple people that were also doing the same thing. And they had contacts with laboratories where we could actually take actual samples of dirt, send them out to the labs, get them tested. And it was coming back like off the charts.
Yeah.
And nothing like what the government was telling us for our town. And so we were the first ones to break, the information that there was this like radioactive dirt at almost every single school. So that got the city in motion, like going to test.
Wow. Now, how far were you from the actual reactor?
We were about 150 miles. Okay. So if you want to think of like San Diego and LA, kind of that distance. And then, so it was a big struggle, because the people around me who were listening to just Japanese news we're getting a completely different
Sure.
story than what I had. And then that's what kind of made me have to prove myself. Like, no,
Right.
I have data.
Right.
You know, this is real. This is true. Like,
Those darn facts.
I'm
Yeah.
not crazy. You know, I
Yeah.
just had to prove that. And here I'm this foreigner. You know, I was even like, because the food in the kids' school lunches were radioactive. They were like serving this to
Right.
the kids. So I was going into this. I was going to different schools, going into their digging their trash after lunch,
And doing
taking
measurements on it.
testing the
Wow.
food that the kids were eating. We had all this stuff, and I have a bunch of video and a bunch of data and stuff that
Crazy. What a
I would
story.
record everything. But so then that kind of made me very conscious of you know, the safety of the fish. That was
Mhm.
a big thing. You know, there's certain areas that you don't want to get your fish from. There's
Mhm.
certain areas that are better to get the fish from. For a long time, I wasn't eating fish at all. I wouldn't
Mhm.
even touch it. I mean, a lot of things I wasn't eating. But then I came to like just accept that, you know, everything there's
Just
everything's
minimize it.
yeah,
You have to do something.
everything's contaminated.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you know, when we moved back here, after all of that, I came back with the girls on my own without Soichi, and he stayed back because we had our house over there. He had his job, we had bills, we had things over there
Mhm.
going on. And he also didn't quite accept that what I was saying was
Mhm.
true. He didn't want to maybe
Right.
believe it.
Yep.
And then so it took him about a year to come over here to San Diego. Now, Soichi 20 years ago, the first time that we lived in the United States, he was a sushi chef at Surfside Sushi in Pacific
Okay.
Beach. So Take from Tadokoro,
Mhm.
and then Masa, who was our chef, he just recently left last month. But Masa was also an employee with Soichi at Surfside Sushi,
Mhm.
and the manager of Surfside Sushi learned sushi under Sushi Ota.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Some big names
so
in
it's
San
kind of
Diego
like
sushi. Yes.
yeah, so kind of
That's
a
quite a
line of
lineage. Yeah.
yeah, so it's
Wow.
interesting because everybody's, you know, really close friends and
Yeah.
everything. And so when we came, well, probably a year before Fukushima happened, Take said he was going to open a restaurant. He had come to Japan, visited with Soichi, and said, "Hey, if you ever come back to San Diego, you got a job."
Right.
And so we really,
At least the seed was
yeah,
planted. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
took him up on that
Yeah.
offer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came back with the kids and we were homeless for about a year, but not like
Wow.
homeless, kind of home. Well, I guess
Couch
homeless.
surfing.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. We'd stay in hotels and sometimes we did stay
Mhm.
in the car, but not like more than one night at a
Mhm.
time or something. And just we didn't have really any savings, you know, not to do an international move. So we
Yeah.
had to get rid of everything. We just came with two suitcases
Yeah.
each. So each kid and
It's one of
myself.
those things that happen
Yeah.
and you can't
Yeah.
expect it until it happens and then
Yeah.
it's too late. You're
Yeah,
in
we
the
had
middle
no
of it
plan,
now.
yeah, to do that.
Yeah. Wow.
That
What a
ended up
story.
me, like, charging my credit card up because
Yeah.
I couldn't work because I had to homeschool the kids because they had only been to Japanese
Right.
schools, and I didn't want them to go into the American school system and just be failing.
Yep.
So I spent a year with them homeschooling the 3 different grades and you know, they're straight A now,
Wow.
but yeah, it was probably the most challenging time. Yeah. Soichi came
That's
back, got a job with Take at Tadokoro. 6 years later, you know, we open up
and for people that don't know,
Soichi.
where is that?
Tadokoro is in Old Town.
Right.
So I think I know the address is like 2244
Yeah.
San Diego
Well,
Avenue.
people that eat a lot of sushi know
Yeah.
that's a big name in sushi in San Diego. But if
Yeah.
you don't know it, that's where it is. But and that's where Soichi came from and
Yep.
decided to open his own. So what caused you to open? Just timing. You finally you found a spot and
Yeah, we talked
Yeah.
about it since before we were married.
Right.
We talked about opening our own place, and Soichi just never felt like he was ready or
Mhm.
good enough with the skill level. Like he
Mhm.
never, like he's not. He plays things very safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wants to make sure everything is just right.
Right.
And I told him, you know, it's now or never. We're in our 40s. You know, you're not going to get better
Exactly. Time is now or
from
never.
now.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for 25 years. Like, how much more better do you
And what
expect?
was the name of the restaurant? I knew Mike and his wife, and I forgot her name.
Oh,
But
it was Circa.
Circa, yes,
Circa,
yeah.
and then
Circa used to run
yeah.
ads in the paper, and we did an article about them too. And I love they did really, you know, it was a great place to go. I love
Yeah.
Circa. So
Before that, they were
Yeah.
Farmhouse. That same
Yep.
location was
Yeah.
Farmhouse
Yep.
as well.
So some
Yeah.
great restaurants. Legacy upholding in that spot. It's kind
Yeah.
of a very hidden spot. If you've ever been in that area, it's you have to kind of know it's there.
It's definitely a
Yeah.
destination.
It's right by the
spot.
U-Haul dealership.
Yeah.
We'll tell you later how to get there. But so anyway,
That-
so you open the restaurant. I know this in 2019, right? In
Yeah, and that's
April
when you and I
2000.
met.
Yep.
So our restaurant is just downstairs from
Yeah.
your place, and you gave us this offer, and we initially we said we're not going to advertise anything. We're not going to spend any money on marketing. Well,
Mhm.
Soichi did.
Right.
I was like, "Are you sure? Like, we really need to do marketing. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to open this restaurant, and what?
You don't want.
We're in a
want-
place where there's nobody,
Yeah.
like no foot traffic really for people going out, and it's a residential area. Like, what are we going to do?" Like, and he just kept telling me, "No, we're not going to do any marketing." And then you presented your local newspaper, and I was like, "Well, you know what?
Well,
That's not a big like international like, hey, look at us, flashy kind of marketing that he's thinking of." Um, but this was something to get for the neighbors.
You planted the seed, yeah. It
Yeah, the
got people around
locals,
there, especially
and that's
because
what we wanted.
you're very obscure, and so we're all about local. Like the name implies, it's local umbrella media. So if you're a local business and wants to reach your community, it's a perfect fit because nobody else
Yeah.
really does that kind of thing. So here's the cover. I got to show it off. This is May of 2019, right after you open.
Yeah.
Great picture of Soichi with that fish. I love that photo. We had a nice spread, and you had a good story to tell. I mean, you told a lot of the version there of it's not just a couple of people open our sushi restaurant. There's a lot of that going on, but you had a story of not only Soishi's skill and expertise and legacy in the business, but also why you moved over and you source fish from places that aren't.
Yeah. So what we
damaged.
figured out is now I don't have scientific proof of this, but just of what I know just from my own experience. We prefer to source, and I don't want to I don't know, I probably shouldn't be even saying stuff, but because it is very controversial,
Yes.
and it affects a lot of, the lives of a lot of fishermen in certain areas and everything. But I prefer to source fish from the northern part of Japan because of the way that the shape of Japan is. Fukushima is like here, the water moves from the west to the east toward our shores. And the northern part of Japan just kind of curves around. In my mind, I see it as the water going all the way around before it comes back to the waters that are just
Got a little more
I'm
time to dissipate.
Probably totally wrong, but
I doubt it. You have a Geiger counter, so I want to ask you, do you still have the Geiger counter?
I do, and
have you made any measurements around here? How are we?
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, we're not too bad here in San Diego
good.
at all. There's certain places that if you check, like if you go out on the beach, you're going to get readings on a Geiger counter because it's not because of they're different, like the sand or the stone or something that is already like a banana is radioactive, but it's a different type of radiation.
Okay.
Completely different, and it's totally different to be like next to something that's radioactive versus ingesting something that's radioactive that can get lodged in the body and radiate that spot for years and then turn into like leukemia later on. So it's a totally different.
That's a whole nother article. I want to. That's interesting because it should be something that we think about. It's so, it's one of those things that can be the thing that gets us. And especially, again, I hate to go back to Ukraine, but because of Chernobyl is overrun and, it's scary. I mean,
that
it's scary for the world.
Really scared me. Yeah. That really, I was like, no,
at least it's farther away.
Because without Chernobyl, like I got most of my information about the effects of radiation on the people who are receiving it and the second generation of people receiving it. And people that lived in the area. So I compared myself to I was kind of like the distance between Belarus and Chernobyl, Yokosuka and Fukushima. And so I could kind of see what was going on there 20 years later as to what's going to be happening in Japan.
Got it.
And there we don't hear a lot of stories, but if you look, there are a lot of stories of the effects of what the people of Fukushima had to deal with. And even now the kids, there are a lot of my
residual
daughter.
Effects,
my daughter at 11 years old went into emergency surgery because they found she had a small pain in her side, and she went in and they took her straight into surgery. Like within like a half hour of like taking her in, they rushed her into surgery. Wow. She had a cyst in her fallopian tube. It's more normal to have one on your ovary, but on your fallopian tube, is a little bit more uncommon, and it had twisted and it was stopping the blood from going to her ovaries. But uh, they said that it's rare for it to be in such a young person.
Wow.
And for me, I mean, there's no way to connect these things,
Yeah,
but
you're just waiting for something to happen because,
yeah,
the base has been set and it's, well, that did happen.
yeah,
There was no other reason, so you kinda have to put 2 and 2
yeah.
together sometimes,
And
so
nobody else in the family is dealing with anything like
got it.
that, and so she's had a struggle. The youngest one had the biggest struggle. And if you think about it, and this is what was I got the school to change out the sandbox there like a year after Fukushima because they were letting the kids play in the sand that I had already tested and
Wow.
shown to be radioactive. And the hottest spot and inside my house was my youngest daughter's pillow. Because if the kids are shorter, they're smaller, they're closer to the ground. When the wind blows and the dust blows up, that's what goes into their hair and and into their noses. So the younger ones are more affected, just by simple things like that.
Makes me wonder about pets and things because they're right next to the ground, sniffing the ground and
Oh
stuff like
yeah,
that.
for sure.
I'm sure there's some studies out there about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Soichi, the one thing you can know is you've got the cleanest fish you can get, right?
Yeah,
because you do take care to source it from a place that's got the least risk of this kind of contamination.
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes, yeah. That's where we try to do our best. It's not possible all the time, and there's the fishing industry is so crazy sometimes too, but we do our best to get this sustainably caught. Well, most of the fish, I would say, like, yeah, most of the fish, it has to be, I'd say 90% of the fish comes from Japan. Most of it has to be pole caught because
Wow.
Soichi explained this to me, which was really interesting and eye-opening for me. When you get fish caught in a net, they're flapping around and scratching their bodies, and then also they're going through stress. That changes the way the meat is tastes.
Yep.
Also, it has to be killed a certain way, like on the boat. And if you're getting like a bunch of fish in a net and you're getting that, those are the cheaper fish.
Right.
So the higher grade fish are the ones that are actually pole caught, even for like samma, which is it's you could go to any supermarket in Japan and get a whole samma for like $2 or something, but the ones that he gets are probably like $10. He told me like $10, for one, because those are pole caught, but there's like they're like a sardine family.
That's amazing in this day and age. I
Yeah.
wouldn't even guess anyone who's getting fish from pole caught unless it's your friends and family or something. So
but that's why it's so expensive.
Yeah.
And also it's not frozen, so none of our fish is frozen.
Right.
So it's flown over. Like our vendor has connections with local fishermen. Sometimes we skip even the fish market in Tokyo. We get it straight from the small town and get flown over same day,
right,
or overnight. And so it's never getting frozen. Some of our other fish we'll get from Baja, for example, the tuna. A lot of the tuna in the Pacific Ocean swims right off the coast of Fukushima, and so they have found contamination in that. Like if you're eating a lot of it, it's really going to affect. Well, you can't.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say
But
that.
at least your eyes on it. At least you
Yeah.
guys are, and I don't know how rare that is, but I would guess it's not that common that people really watch where they get the fish from because there's so many sushi restaurants and you got
Yeah.
to get it from somewhere. So it takes a little more effort to have those connections and watch it and have a Geiger counter and all those things. So and to actually care because of personal experience with the family. So that makes sense. So, and I will say that the fish there, I'm not just saying this, there is a difference. I've eaten a lot of sushi and that is that's very, very high quality sushi. So I want to talk a little bit about the experience. So you moved from Old Town, opened your own restaurant in University Heights, Normal Heights area on Adams Avenue. Did the cover story. Thank you for doing that. It was a great story. It got picked up by some other media too.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
I
that.
would say every other media publication that I've seen has probably, I think maybe one copied the first one, and then like they copied that, like just taking little tidbits. I'm like, that was in my original because I helped.
That's right.
When Don interviewed me,
Ron.
That's Ron Donahoe. That's
Ron
right.
Donahoe. Yeah,
Don Ronahoe, not Don Ronahoe.
Great writer, by the way.
Yeah.
Ron. Thank you, Ron, for a great story.
He did a really great job. But I know that he was the only one that I told these things to. and for these other media outlets
Yeah.
to have that had to come
Well,
from
that's what we
your
do. Yeah.
article.
You don't
So,
steal, but you can borrow, and you learn,
yeah.
and you pick up stuff like that. But you told me a story, and I just, before we got on the air, I told you a story about another restaurant in more recently in Normal Heights that she called me 2 weeks after the story came out, and she said, "You won't believe it, Brad. We got, these international people found me." It was a very controversial story. I won't go in, but it was newsworthy. It wasn't just gloating over a wonderful restaurant like yours was. So yours wasn't that, but hers was a little controversial. But anyway, it does tell us that, just getting out there, this is self-promotional here, but it's not just the people that get it that day. Other news organizations can pick up on it. It can, like, they hear about videos going viral. Well, stories can go viral too, especially if they're interesting, and that's what we try and do. So anyway, so that happened, and it was 3 years ago. Just celebrated your anniversary.
Yeah.
And another thing that just happened fairly recently, and this is very special. You were recognized by Michelin.
Yes.
As what was it, the local find, or what was the?
No, we actually got 1 star. I guess
okay.
first we did the year before we got recognized as so they weren't in San Diego yet, really, but they wanted to kind of feature some restaurants as like somebody that they're keeping their eye on.
Exactly,
kind of
that's what it
thing.
was.
Yeah, and like an honorable mention kind of thing. And then the following year, so last year in September, I think, we found out that we got the Michelin star.
Yeah.
One thing was Soichi was, I say he was afraid, but he did not really want to get the Michelin star because I think because he was afraid that it might change our restaurant.
Oh.
Or make
just become a tourist.
Yeah, he didn't.
There's a sweet spot.
He liked being small and local.
Yeah.
And we have a great customer base that really is supportive, like really supportive. Like during the pandemic, we didn't even make it to our first anniversary before the pandemic hit. But we've got, people from the neighborhood that just came in and bought gift certificates when, guy bought like $1,000 worth of gift certificates, just to get us through that month. And it was crazy, he still hasn't used them.
Well,
I keep asking him
all
every,
about, it's taking care of each other, and, we forget about that, but that's what it all comes back down to. So, and I've been there a few times, and every time you're there, you're not there with a bunch of, there's always somebody other than me and my guests or whoever I go with that knows Soichi, and you can tell they, this is a place that's, it's like the Cheers, everybody knows your name, that type of thing. And it's very quaint. And so tell me about I'll probably say this wrong, but omakase. Tell us, because a lot of people don't even know what that is, probably.
Omakase is a very I want to say traditional. There's this word in Japanese, omotenashi, which is Japanese hospitality. So the food is served with that type of hospitality because the chef is designing this meal for you. So that's what omakase is. And you go in and you don't order really this and that from the menu. You just order the course that you want and leave it up to the chef. He's going to put the best in there. And if you have preferences, he'll ask you and make sure that, if you love this one type of fish, he'll make sure that you get that one. Or if you hate mackerel or whatever, he won't put it in there, type of thing. We'll make sure that you get what you want. But also it makes the experience enjoyable because you don't have to think about anything and choose. You just sit back, relax, be surprised, and enjoy.
And I'm one of those guys that, I always say I'm young enough, I'm not old yet. You don't have to take care of me. Don't wait on me. I'll grab my own stuff. I'm just kind of grew up that way. But I get into Soichi, and it is a different experience. It's like, just treat me, just show me the art, serve me. It's, you just serve it one after another. There's a reason for one course leads to the next, to the next, to the next, and it all makes sense. And it's all just, it is a real different experience. So,
And some things, just to know if you ever go there, is when the chef serves a piece of a nigiri in front of you, and maybe you're in conversation with your friend, you're having a good time or something. It's a little bit, I don't want to say rude, but it's kind of like not appreciating the fact that all the effort that goes into making sure the temperature is right. That that it's the reason why it's prepared right before you put it in your mouth is because it's supposed to be enjoyed at that moment. Everything in
Oh,
the Japanese culture is so temporal. You think of the cherry blossoms, they just last like a week.
yeah,
The sake that we serve, it's the type of sake that has to be consumed within the year. They release it in the winter or the
wow,
spring, and it should be consumed by the end of that year. If you like, you can't even buy it in the stores because it doesn't have additive. The
right,
sake doesn't have additives, so that um, it doesn't have long shelf
yeah,
life. So we had to even be qualified to sell some of the sake that we have. We had to prove that we would take care of it, and
wow,
and it's refrigerated from the time it leaves, and it's shipped over here. By the time it leaves Japan to the time it's served, it needs to
right,
be refrigerated. We have some things that are unpasteurized and things like that.
yeah,
So we actually have to move the sake. They don't want their small batch sake from breweries that are over 400 years old.
wow,
Started by samurai warlords. You know, these are very traditional sake that need to be taken care of, and yeah, so it's important, I think, when people come to have omakase that they kind of respect that the chef is handing it to you at
exactly.
that moment, and you should enjoy
You're
it
in
at
their
them.
good hands, follow
Yeah,
directions, focus, you can go out and have a party at another sushi bar some other night, but not that you can't have fun, everyone has fun in there, but
yeah,
respect the process and be a part of it because it's
yeah.
special. Yeah,
And he
it's
won't serve the next bite unless you're done. He won't serve anybody that's seated with you either. If they're all
yeah,
done and you haven't taken your bite, you're holding up
everyone just stares at you and
the
what's wrong? Now I'm kinda self-conscious. If I
Yeah.
get something wrong, when is
No,
it wrong?
no, no,
I'll
just
make sure.
no, not at all, but it's something that I do notice, just standing back, and I can see I'm his wife, so I can
Yeah.
see his face
Oh my
sometimes.
gosh.
He won't say anything,
Well, he's got that
but
look.
yeah,
Look,
yeah,
you don't
yeah.
want Soichi looking at you like this because
Yeah.
you want him focused on the fish and serving you because he's an absolute master. It's
Yes.
an incredible place. It's cozy. It's welcoming. The food is absolutely the best sushi I've ever had. Not even close. And the
Thank
experience
you.
is unique. And there's not many omakase
Mhm.
in San Diego. I don't know if there's any. There's one or two other ones. We
Yeah,
don't
there
have to
might a
mention
couple
them,
more. Yeah,
but
there are a
anyway,
couple
it's
more
it's
in
pretty
there.
rare to have this kind of an experience. I mean, there's sushi bars on every street corner. It seems like now,
Yeah.
but you go in and you kind of get the old,
It's
you
hard
know,
to find, chefs who have the experience,
yeah,
that some of the chefs that are from that line
yeah,
that I mentioned. There are some really good sushi chefs here that are
mhm,
from that line, that I didn't mention that are here in San
yeah,
Diego, but that have the training and the skill and that have been doing it for
right,
as long as they have. It's hard for me, like Masa's, he just recently left and he's over at Tadokoro right now, but he grew up in the sushi industries,
hmm,
and his parents own a restaurant in Osaka,
hmm,
and he grew up. His dad's a sushi chef.
right.
He has his dad's knives, and so to find somebody to replace him, or it's really difficult. So, to and anybody that has that much experience and skill, they're starting to do their own thing.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna break out into your own,
yeah.
create your own
That's
career and
I know
fans and
that's
things.
Masa's plan. So, but
Well,
and
Soishi's still there. So, and
yeah.
I've eat sushi not every week, but I have it quite a bit, and I always kind of if it fits, bring up that, "Oh, do you guys know Soichi?" And there's a high level of respect.
Oh,
He's known
yeah.
throughout San Diego and the other sushi bars as, "Oh, yeah, that guy's the real deal." So,
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
so anything else you wanna add? 3rd anniversary, just come see it. I know there's a long waiting list, so if you wanna have a meal, there's, how
yeah.
long's the waiting list these
I
days?
will
A couple of
give
months?
Yeah, we went through a couple of different, ideas and systems to make things better for everyone. Before the Michelin star, we were already booked out over a month, but, what I did was I just decided, okay, we're just gonna release the reservations for the following month on the 1st of every month.
Oh,
So
wow.
here's my secret tip, which is not gonna be secret anymore because I'm telling you right
Darn
now.
it. Let's turn the sound off. I just wanna hear this so I
No,
can get
no, it's
back in.
okay. That's right. No, no, we're releasing at noon on the 1st of every month for the following month. So May
Okay.
1st, we'll be releasing June, the month of
Wow.
June. We do have some seats that we reserve for like our regular customers, that we block from the online stuff. So there's like, I would say more than half is for the online,
Yeah.
and there's maybe like I'd say like a third. We do keep for our regular customers. We want to respect our,
Got it.
our regular customers.
Sarah's sitting over here, and I told her and Brett already, I'm going to take them there someday. So
Nice.
mark that down so we can get you in. Noon on the
Definitely.
1st. Mark it down, Sarah.
Yeah.
Mayday. So anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough place to get into. It's well worth it. It's an experience. You can take your friends. They're all going to love it. They're going to, how'd you find this place? You kind of become
Yeah.
a scoop finder. So Soichi Sushi, 2127 Adams Avenue. Is that right? That's
2121. That one's your address.
on my address. I'm sorry. Don't go to our
2121.
office. There's no sushi there. Down 2121 Adams Avenue in Normal Heights, University Heights area. Go see Raechel and Soichi and the staff there. You'll get some amazing food. You'll get maybe a little guitar playing from Soichi at the end. An experience you'll never forget.
I want to just say one more
Yes.
thing, that it was a big thing that helped us, that you did. It was you gave us the idea to do the gift certificates.
Oh yes,
That
we
got
print
us
them for
through
you
the
too. You got it through
through
the
the
pandemic.
pandemic.
Yeah.
That was
I've
I wanted to
long been
say thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
That was a
It's
lifesaver. We've
it
got a lot of people bought gift certificates.
Yeah, it was a
and
win-win.
that
We'll
was
get you
good.
some more if you need some, but I've long been an advocate of gift certificate marketing, and some of the things you brought up, people, and I like the paper gift certificates like we did for you, because the gift cards and things, you get a Starbucks gift card or whatever, you throw it in your wallet, you don't think about it.
Yeah.
When you get a gift certificate from Soichi, number one, you can't get in for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it for a while and say, when can we get in? When can we get in? But it's a tangible piece, and it's a piece of advertising.
Yeah.
And I tell restaurants all the time, just give us, let's do some gift cards, because they're just so much more powerful, and they're pretty rare these days versus gift, the online things and points and all this stuff. You just don't have top of mind awareness with those. I have 10-year-old, well, maybe not 10, but I probably have 3 or 4-year-old gift certificates. Some restaurants have gone out of business. That's the other things. A lot of them don't get used, but it's hard to throw them away, even if they're out of business. But I'm always looking through my little, where should we go tonight? Where should we go tonight?
Yeah.
And it's always the first place I look is my gift certificates. It's already paid for them, or someone gave them to us, or whatever. And anyway, I'm in marketing, so it's gift certificates, paper gift certificates. Actually, a wonderful way to market.
Yeah,
so.
and it's really nice because we made it into this thing. When people buy the gift certificates, we let them write a little note. So we will mail it. We handwrite a little note that goes with their gift certificate, like happy birthday, and then mail it off to them, or they can pick them up at the store.
Got it.
Yeah. So
well, thanks for being here. It was always great to see you. I see you a lot, but not enough.
Yeah.
And it's great to hear some of the story I'd heard before, but some of it was brand new, and some of it was scary. I didn't know you had a Geiger counter, but I might have you come out to my house and check our turf one of these days. So
for sure.
Anyway, that's our show today, Local Connections with Local Umbrella Media. I would like to thank our sponsors, Attorney King, of course, Sequan Casino, and IB Fitness. And again, I'm going to give a shout out to Solana Beach Chamber of Commerce. Go to Fiesta del Sol in Solana Beach. You'll be glad you did. May 21st and 22nd. It's an amazing event. It's free. It's just small town America, small town San Diego County. Be there, be square. And that's our show. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.